Hello everybody. I thought I'd do a video today using some of the products that I haven't used in a while. In fact, I don't think I've used this journal at all on my channel. I have got a page background painted in here and I have done a page, but I don't think I've actually made videos of it. Now, I can't remember if I had this in a haul or not. It's an Indigo by Artway little journal, and it's very, very textured. Oh, there's the one I've just painted the background. It's very, very textured cotton rag paper, very thick. Oh, there's my one I actually did that I haven't made a video of. But I thought I would go in the middle of this book today and make a little spread using some other products I haven't used in a while, and that is stamps and stencils from Asha Marquet. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right, Asha. I really do like to try and get people's names correctly pronounced. She has a shop on the internet called Lemon Creation, and she is Lemon Creation on her YouTube channel, which I will link below. Now, I have no affiliation financially or otherwise with Asha, but I love her style. I love her products that she produces, and so I thought it was about time I got my stamps and stencils out again. Now, I've got a couple of stencils out. I don't know, these I've just sort of grabbed what I've fancied playing with today. Now, I cannot remember what this one is called, but I will list everything I use in the description box below. And I thought today I would do a video in real-ish time, because obviously you do not want to sit and watch things dry, so I will cut away for those things, but I'll do it in real time with me chatting away about hopefully what I'm doing, maybe other things, who knows. So I've got this one, and I've got these running in circles. I love circles. Circles are one of my favorite things. And then I sort of was going along the same theme with the circles. So I've got the Once Upon a Time stamp out. I've got So Textured, because I just love everything texture. And then I was thinking focal points. So I've got Flowers on Edge and my Anemone, which both have sort of leaves and flowers that I could use. Then I also thought, I haven't, since I think I made a video where I tried these out, I can never remember how to say it, and now I lose where it says it on the packaging. These are the Japanesque colours by the Shadow Black, actually, Boku Undo, and they are Sumi colours, as in they are an Inky based water reactive product, and they are sort of shades of black, so they're very graphite-y looking. And then I thought I'll use those, and also I got out my Graphitints to maybe do a little bit of texture. In fact, I might use the Graphitints just to put down some mark making to start with. So let's move those across like that, and let's just start with a little bit of making for a change. Now, I've got a piece of acetate because I thought I'd do some, smooshing with the inks. I think I am going to have to just put some little clips on here because it does not seem to want to stay flat down. So my Graphitint box has got a range of things in it. Actually, I could use my Lyra water soluble graphite because I haven't really played around with that. Let's put a bit of colour down. Colours in here. Let's go with. Is this? The colours are really quickly rubbing off on here. I'm really not sure what that be. Is that burnt umber? Probably. Oh, let's use port. Let's use port and aubergine, because I think recently I used the green and. Oh, it's in trouble with graphite and stuff, isn't it? It all sort of comes off. Let's just put a bit. I just want to make a bit of a line down the middle. I want to sort of keep her nice, longish. Put them back in there. Oh, look, it gets everywhere, doesn't it? I think this is why I don't tend to. Let's just do some marks with the graphite across the page. Like so. And then let's water it. Water it? Does that even make sense? Let's put some water on it. Let's get a nice big-ish brush, water. Let's just, oh, there's lots of bits on here. Just to add some colour to the centre. Then I will get my stamps and I will use some Archival inks because they're permanent and stamp across the top with some of the different lemon creation stamps. So let's leave that to dry and I'll be back in a moment. Okay, so that's now more or less dried. I did give it a little blast. I wiped my finger over a bit up there and I realised it was a little bit of colour that I hadn't watered out. So unfortunately, it made a little bit of a smear. But to be fair, it's a background. And I know to some people, you probably look at this and think, wow, what a mess. It's just a load of scribbles. But to be honest, sometimes just getting some colour down, getting some marks and scribbles takes that blank page away. And when I'm art journaling, I am just building layers and it's in an art journal, so it's not going on anybody's wall. It's not even being sent as a card, although I can use ideas that I gather for cards. But, you know, it's meant to be relaxing. It's meant to be something that is enjoyable and just to take you, you know, out of yourself sometimes. So now I'm just adding a little bit of the purplish black. The names. So I was going to do the stamping next, but then I thought actually I think I might put a little bit of this on just to make some extra marks on the top. Now this is a ink based product, so it will hopefully, when it has sort of it's going to come up above these products because they are, you know, a lot lighter. And I just want, again, just to add a little bit of texture, a little bit of pattern. I like doing it sometimes with a piece of acetate because you sort of get, you can't control, well, you can control it, but you can't control it, if that makes any sense to anybody. Right, I'm sticking with my colours that I used in the background. So I'm going to go with reddish black. And you can sort of, you put your ink, your paint, anywhere you like on here. So let's just have a bit of that there. And you'll get different looks depending on, you know, sort of how you put it on here. So if I put it, you know, in a bigger area, or I could put it in a smaller area. But I'm just adding, go back over that bit, take a bit of that. And see, the graphite marks I made with the grey graphite are almost disappearing now into that background. But I can always lighten this up. So let's let that bit dry. Now that I have dried this off a little bit, I've decided that it is a bit dark for me and I want to lighten it up. Now, I was thinking, oh, I could just put some splashes of white in. And then I thought, no, what I'll actually do is I will use the stencil with some white acrylic paint to just add some white into this centre area. Because I wanted to use something like a texture paste or a crackle paste in a bit anyway. So the white from this would just help to lighten it before adding the stamping, and then I can add some even more white with my texture paste and the other stencil. So I'm going to just pop out a little bit of the acrylic paint. Now sometimes I use a brush, sometimes I use a sponge. I'm going to go with my stenciling brush this time, and I am just going to add some of these, I think maybe mostly the numbers. I'm using my stippling brush, but I'm going to swirl it about a little bit. Let's have some of these in here, and this will hopefully break up some of that background. And that's always a thing that you can do if you feel like your background's a little bit either maybe too light or too dark. Then if you add in something that is white or something that is black, it can just help to break it up a little bit. But I mean, you might like it as it is. I'm going to stick with the numbers. I'm going to go with some of these smaller numbers, but I'm going to stick with the numbers, I think. Let's have some of those over here as well. And I don't worry too much about getting them perfect. Some go onto the white bit. That's nice. It adds a little bit of extra texture up there as well. And let's have one more bit. Yeah. And there we go. So we think that's enough. That's definitely enough. So we'll leave that one to dry. It was a very thin layer of paint, so it hasn't taken much to dry. So I'm going to go with these two sort of what I would consider more background textury type stamps. And I am thinking that I may have some of these numbers in, maybe the bigger numbers. So I want to take just one stamp from each. I don't want to go too mad because I feel like I could get a very cluttered background. So I'm thinking I like this stamp from here, and I will go with a bit of this one from here. And I'm going to do these two in colours to match-ish the background. So I'm going with colours that I think will stand out. So we've got the Villainous Potion in an Archival ink, and I've got Plum in Archival ink. And then I'm going to do my numbers, which are a smaller stamp, that bit there, in the black to really then make a contrast. So we'll go with this one. I'm not sure. It's like some kind of scientific dial. I may be totally wrong. Now I'm going to put it on a block, but I am not worried about it. I think I need a smaller block. Let's have that circle, that one. I'm not worried about it stamping properly. It's going onto incredibly textured paper, and it's in a journal, which straight away makes things more difficult. So let's go with the Plum for this one. Now I generally tap, but sometimes if you've got a big area that's got a lot of detail, you can sort of swipe it across, but then I usually tap at the end again just to make sure. I might just pull that out the way slightly. So let's go here. Oh, it's not come out particularly well, but that will be because of the paper. Let's do one here. Let's try and push it a bit more this time, just to see. It's coming out quite faint because it's got so much texture on that paper, but in some ways that's a bit better for me because it's making it much more part of the background. Also, where it's going over the colour, it's not going to show as much anyway. So let's go there. I sometimes find the more you ink and stamp, the sort of the brighter or darker it becomes over the time of you stamping with it. But I think it's a step too far with this paper to expect anywhere near a crisp image. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, one more. I think I might have one down there, and then keep it more to the edges. Now this stamp as well has got a lot of fine detail, so it's not going to be something that is going to show brilliantly on here. Whereas the next stamp is much more bold, a bolder pattern that should show up a lot clearer. Let's pop that there. Let's go with this one, and this time we'll go with the Villainous Potion. Just love the names. Anybody got favourite names of distress colours or colours in general? Right, let's try it along here and see how that works. There we go. That's nice, like that. I feel like I need some to be coming off of my page now. So let's go right off the edge here. There we go. Now I could turn it up, but I think I'm going to stick to a horizontal a horizontal direction, because the page is landscape, so I feel that works better. I like how that's gone over that paint there. So let's do one down here. So, and I'm twisting the stamp, so I'm getting different, sometimes having the straight bit at the top, sometimes having the straight bit at the bottom, just so that you get a variation in the texture that you're creating. Let's do it there. There's a bit coming off. So I think that is enough. So that is enough of that one. And what I wanted to do was then add a little bit of texture with some texture paste. And I've just realised that I've not got the texture paste out, so I will have to just quickly go and get it. So I have grabbed my texture paste. I was debating whether to do crackle, but I think that when you use a crackle paste, having a bigger area to really see those crackles is beneficial. So, but this is quite even though some of the circles are bigger, on the whole, it's quite a more gentle stencil. So I will just use this white texture paste, and this one is from Pretty Gets Gritty. And then I remembered that I hadn't actually stamped on my numbers in black yet. So I will do that before I stencil because it's going to be texture. I don't want to be stamping after that. So this time I'm going to use black. So I'm just using the Jet Black Archival ink. Let's get some of these on, just a few of these, just to really stand out. And I think that will go nicely against the, oh, that's not very black. Again, the texture of this paper does not means you don't really get that really crisp. That one's a bit blacker. Really crisp sort of image. But I think when I sort of put numbers in the stenciling, I like numbers. I like numbers anyway on pages, but I like to echo what I've done previously on the page. So like with the colours, and then with the images and the types of shapes that I might be using. I find that helps me get what I like, which is I like a nice cohesive-ish page, even though I go mad and can be quite abstract at times. But for me, I have to have something that's sort of coming through the page. Now, my chair is really squeaking. I hope you can't hear it. It's terrible. It's decided it wants to become a squeaky chair at the moment. Right, so let's get a bit of texture paste. I'm using a palette knife or a spatula, and I'm going to take off the clips because I want to be able to go where. Now, should I have it coming off? I might have it coming in from the corner. That might be quite nice. Or I could just take a section. I might just take a section. So let's just go. Because even if you've got a big stencil, you don't have to use the whole thing. You can just use a part of it. So I'm liking the idea. Just using, oh, I love that. I love that bit of the stencil. Let's just do that. We're just going to take that centre and make this sort of burst. It's almost like a solar system. There'd be a lot of planets if it was as many planets in the solar system. But, you know, it's got that planetary sort of look about it. Oh, yes, I really love it. So 1, 2, and I think I'll just have one more. Now, you just do have to be a little bit careful because I know that I've got that paste already there. I should have thought about it maybe before, but this is how I roll with my art journaling. I don't always think about it before I start putting things down. So I just have to be careful and not put that on top of that. I think that's enough. I think that will do. So I will need to let that dry. With paste, you can force dry them with your heat tool, but they are better if you leave them. So I'll see you once it's dry. Okay, so I did give it a little bit of a waft with heat tool, but I've let it dry more or less on its own. I think it's roughly dry. I still sort of want a few more white flecks, so I thought I would use my Winsor & Newton ink, and this is a white one. It always needs a good shake. It separates very easily, I find. So I'm giving it a good old shake to mix the parts of it together. And I am going to get my fan brush. Hopefully it will fit in here. Probably won't. Well, there you go, just about. And just want to give just a few little flats. And then I can put this aside to dry whilst I do the next part, which is to create some of the focal points. Pop the lid on so we don't knock that over. Now I did have some watercolour card here, so I'll put that to the top there. Bit of a crease in this, but it's fine. So I'm going to use the archival ink to stamp these out, and I just want, I'm not sure how many I want actually, so I'll stamp a few and then I can always colour them and then decide whether I do or don't want to use them. Let's go with some. I think I want to go with a couple of the bigger ones, perhaps. So I'm going to use the black because we've got black in the background, and black will also help them stand out. Actually, I'm going to give that a bit more. Just realise I hadn't really inked that up. I think my ink pad actually may be a bit dry and need re-inking, but let's hope that that will do. I'm just going to flex at the corners of my block just to help that, because I've put that on rather a large block. Ooh, that will do. It's not perfect, but you know what? I might actually try with my other ink pad. I've got Versafine Clair, which is also an ink that will work with watery products. So if I want to use watercolours, let's try that same one actually and see. The Versafine Clair can sometimes be a bit more juicy and give you a nice line with more detail. And I apologise if that was making the camera move at all, because I'm moving the table a bit when I'm doing that. Let's have a look. Oh, that's better. That's much better. I think that definitely needs a bit of re-inking, so I'll do that afterwards. It will need to settle in. I'm doing the same one again, aren't I? Oh well. And then we might go. Oops, I've moved it, but that's okay. That's already done. That's roughly on there. Let's go with this one. I'll do one of this one. Do a few different ones, and then I can choose between them. This one. And we'll have maybe we'll go with this little sort of bud one that's on a, I was going to say on a string. It's not on a string, is it? It's on a stalk. This little one that's on a stalk. And then I think I would like some of these, just to make a little bit of background foliage for now. And I'm thinking that I might go for, because I've got a very monotone, monotone, I can't remember, one or the other. So it's all sort of one colour family in the background. I might go for yellow for the flowers, because yellow is the complementary colour on the colour wheel to purple. So that always makes a nice contrast in a page or in a spread. And then we'll have green leaves, obviously, because I just like green leaves. Let's go one more, just so that we've got enough of these in case we need them. Right, then I will go off camera to cut these out, because it is a bit tedious to watch me cut out, because I am not the fastest of cutter outers. Okay, I have cut out all the bits. I have also prepared in advance one of the super messy word sentiments from Asher as well. So this one says, listen to everything which stirs your soul. So I thought that was really apt for this journal page in particular. I'm not worried about cutting it particularly brilliantly, but it's, you know, it's going on my very messy journal page. I'm going to put that there actually. So I've got out, these are my Inktense blocks. So they're the same stuff that's inside Inktense pencils, but just as an actual block. But you can use them to draw with, but you can also use them to paint with. Now mine are a bit mucky from being in the tin with all the other things, so hopefully they'll be okay. But I'm having to lean over to get to my water. They are an ink rather than paint, so I thought that would be quite nice to use, because we've used those Sumi ink sort of paints. It's a contradiction, isn't it? In the background, so I thought it would be quite nice to add these onto the flowers. Now I'm going mostly for yellow, but I thought I might add a little bit of orange as well in there, just to, oh, there's a bit of red on there as well, just to add a little bit of extra dimension and shadow and shade. So I'm going to just put that to the side actually. I think I'm just going to colour them all the same, so they'll be quite quick to do. I don't want to spend, I'm not trying to be a super duper colorist with this. I'm just wanting to get colour on. Let's do all the yellows in one go actually, and that will probably be a lot easier. The more water you add to these, the paler they will be, but they do, because they're ink rather than a watercolour paint, I'm going to presume that just like the pencils, they dry permanent rather than be able to be reactivated. Let's get a little bit of just around those centre pieces just to make them a little bit toned. They're not just flat and all one colour. Oops, that was a bit too much. You can, although they're permanent when dry, you can still sort of lift and move stuff whilst they are wet. So let's just take a bit of that wet off of there, because that was a bit too much water in there. We'll do that. And then we'll go, I've got a few different greens, so I thought I'd sort of do a bit of a mix up with the greens. And I've cut the leaves stamped in like pairs, but I've cut them up individually. So let's go for a bit of this more olivey type green. Ooh, very sort of muddy green. Let's go with the other one. I might add a little bit of that into there because that feels like that's very dark. And one more. Let's have a bit of that and then a bit of that. And of course, a little bit round here. That one. I did leave a slight border around my stamping. I just find it sometimes it's a bit easier. Needs a bit more colour there. So I haven't worried about if I've gone totally to the edges of these. I've just sort of giving them quite a rough watercolory look. So let's then, these will dry quite quickly. There's not that much colour on those. Let's move this piece of paper, move this down a little bit, and decide how my composition is going to go. Now I'm thinking that I want to have a bigger cluster. I have two flowers that are the same, so these two. So I thought I'd have one on this side, one on that side, and then on here as well have maybe these ones to have maybe that one here, that one here. This is usually what I now spend the majority of my time doing, is actually playing around with how I want my composition to go. Maybe like that, maybe a darker small leaf to go with that into there, and maybe then another one to come up here, and then over here just a couple of those with that flower, maybe like that actually. And then if I've got a spare leaf, I can have my listen to everything which stirs your soul, I think, down on that part of the page. So let's use I've got glue gel. This is Pinflair glue gel. I do like a glue gel because it holds its shape nicely and gives a really good stick, but also it means that you can put things down and then still move them a little bit if you want to add things behind, or you suddenly think, oh, that's not exactly where I wanted it, and you can still move it. And I like the fact that this stenciling is sort of behind here. I'm not worried about putting glue all along the stem. I'm just sticking the main part because that's going to go under the flower anyway. And then let's put the flowers on first. These are damp, but I don't worry. I tend to stick things down and then let them dry. They're all going to dry eventually, aren't they? Now, I get through quite a lot of this pimphlet. I probably put on a lot more glue than what is needed, so you might not want to put as much glue on your projects. I am known for adding a lot of glue to things. I don't know why I do it, I just do. So I just feel that I need to make sure things are stuck very, very well. Okay, I want that slightly under there like that, so there, that flower can overlap. I'm going to use my other glue because that one's now run out. I'm not overly keen on the colouring I did on this sleeve, so what I might do is I'm going to put this one to be behind the bigger one. Something you always do if you're not keen on something, put it behind, a little bit more behind things. Why can I not get that in there? There we go. And then it's just a little bit of that sticking out there. Glue off my fingers. And then let's have one more. Just I do like having all the foliage. I think I do need it behind the flower. Like that. And then I'll have, move those up slightly. Have that there. Oops. There we go. I can just slightly over. I like to have things touching other things. So I've got sort of like the majority on one side. This is how I do tend to work double pages. I have one page that has more on it than the other, and that just appeals to me, the way I like to position things. There we go. So there is my finished journal spread using lots of products from Asha of Lemon Creation, and like I said, I'll link her channel and I will list all the products. I'll link Asha's products where possible as well. And I hope you enjoyed watching that. Please give me a thumbs up as a like if you enjoyed it. If you're not already subscribed, if you could subscribe, that would be fabulous. And I'll see you again soon. Bye.